Ladies and gentlemen, this is Freedom Report. The broadcast will start shortly after this brief song.
I got arrested just a few days ago in a sting operation for my 13th time. My brother's 16th time. I mean, we are beating some Guinness Book of Records. This is unbelievable. I would never think that in Canada you would have to do this. It's unbelievable.
Stefanos, you're frozen. Oh man, they gotta change your modem.
1 hour later.
Forgive my paper here, but you know what? When it's that song, you write on anything you get. God bless you. Amen. Thank you.
Very large crowd here. So, very large line of protesters, very large line of police and riot police who are actually moving further. But I was, just before I even turned this phone on, they weren't coming over this snow hill up here, but here, I'll show you everybody. Yeah, they're coming over this snowbank and they're going to want to push everybody out of here.
Ed, I'm muted.
Well, I'm just going to start by saying I never expected to be the guy in front of the cameras, in front of the media. I just wanted to grill. I just wanted to run my business, sell our sandwiches and our platters of meat, give good job opportunities to people, and try to enrich my local community with the kind of food that I can make. I've been put in this strange position where I had no choice but to engage in civil disobedience. So.
A lot bigger crowd than Edmonton. I salute you all, the freedom fighters. I'm a freedom-loving pathologist, and I've got a big career on the line here. I've spent my entire life in evidence-based medicine, being a good guy, a soldier for organized medicine, and then that's not good enough. I'm spreading, according to them, misinformation, except the only problem is they won't tell you what the information is that I'm misinforming you about.
But you told me that they had their safeties off, right?
Well, there was one guy standing there with the AR, there was kids around, and one fellow said, why do you have ARs, full tactical gear, with you when we're unarmed, and there's kids around?
Oh, there we go. Playing most games again.
Yeah.
So, so this is gonna be what you want to share out, guys.
Freedom Report has special guests like April Lejeune, Pat King, Conrad R.C. Goodser, Artur Pulowski, Misty Wind, Mike Martins, Chris Sky, Jason J-Man Pachernik, Aaron Barker, Dr. Daniel Nagase, Adam Skelly.
And you have to prove that you have a lawful reason to be there. And I say your lawful reason is Section 6 of the...
You have a lawful reason to be here because you're a citizen of Canada.
That's right.
Everything about all the corruption and the voting scandals. Just wait till
Police started coming in and taking people's stuff again, and I thought that was illegal. They just said that the first time. They're supposed to return everything.
Freedom Report. Broadcast starts now. Thank you for watching.
Well, good evening, everybody. Happy Monday. It's going to be a good show. We got Joey sitting in the green room. Stefanos should be here any second now. And let's get on with it. There's a bunch of things we're going to talk about. Specifically, legislation that's in place. And I find it interesting that politicians don't even know their own laws. Let's bring in Joey. How's it going? We cannot hear you. At least I can't. Can anyone else? Maybe my volume's turned down. No, mine's up. What's it sound like? There's no Derek tonight. Last thing I heard, he was in court all day today. That's the last I heard of it. Joey, we still got nothing from you. Check your mic settings, maybe. Let me check that for you. Volume is cranked. I'm going to go to auto for you. We're not getting anything. Can anyone hear me? Can anyone? Joey? There you are.
Oh, perfect. You got me now?
Joey, no sound, dude. I think you're good now, though. There's 10-second delay, though.
How are you doing today?
Apparently, I'm okay.
That's good. So do you want me to talk about what I found out this past weekend until Stefanos comes in, or are we just waiting on him, or?
No, go. Let's go ahead. Who knows what he's tied up with? He's been busy.
Okay, so I just want to say hi to absolutely everybody in the room. Thank you so much for having me again on the show. I really appreciate joining any chance that I get. So for those of you that don't know me, I used to work in government, and I'm part of a bunch of freedom groups, different rally groups and all that kind of stuff. Here in Alberta, there's some independence groups, or at least most of them identify as being independence groups. And the people that are in them, I noticed that they're searching for some hope. They're hoping for, something that's change, a glimmer of hope to get us through the rough times, and maybe even usher in democracy into these bleak times in this province. So over the past weekend, I was part of a lot of meetings, actually, and people even call me to find out, is this law something that is applicable? Is there anything there? Is there any substance? And unfortunately, I have to deliver the message that no, there isn't anything there. Anyways, nonetheless, so there's a few meetings that I was part of. So one of the meetings is I'm working on a group myself, and this group, I can't really talk too much about it. I'm just going to leave it at, it's called Liberty Alberta. And we're looking at, it's neither right nor left. It's just, it speaks about economic freedom. It speaks about our Constitution and independence, which is really big within the province of Alberta in particular right now. I'll release more of that as I'm allowed to. So right now we're just in the building stages. So there is hope on the horizon. Now, one of these groups that I was invited to, or a meeting, whatever you want to call it, I sat down at the table, and on the forefront, it looks really good. It looks it's well thought out. The speakers and the people that are in charge of this particular group and all that kind of stuff, it presents very well. It looks like it's of the people, by the people, for the people, which is always what I definitely want to emphasize. Unfortunately, I heard a couple of things, and then it prompted me to do some investigations, and it's not at all what it presents to be. The headliner of this particular group, and again, I'm not going to mention names or anything like that, he comes across as it's his group. He's the guy. And he basically wants, and he said it flat out, that he wants direct and total control over our government, which is very scary, actually, to basically shift the power over to an individual or a collective of individuals that are literally going to rule over our government. That is not at all the presentation that he's making in front of the public, that this is of the people, by the people, for the people. moreover, I looked into the bylaws and governance and all that kind of stuff, and I really read into it, and it literally says that this particular group is beholden to their investors. So they are working with a lot of the main political parties that are out there. This is not a political party. It's just a group of individuals with a concept and a plan. And basically, from what I'm seeing from being on the outside looking in, is it almost looks like they're trying to stack the deck in their favor. So regardless of whichever party wins, they're going to rule over it, and that's really scary to me as an Albertan, which makes the group that I'm working on, Liberty Alberta, that much more important. Because if these guys get in charge, this is very, very similar to the tactics of what happened in Nazi Germany, where, Hitler was speaking about being friendly with the people. He cared about the people and all that kind of stuff. And he didn't go for a government position. He actually went for chancellor, which is equivalent to our governor general. And I suspect that's probably where this guy is going. My best thing that I can suggest to anybody out there, any political group, any party, any supposed nonprofit that says that they're in favor of people that are out there, and it's of the people or independence or whatever, read, please read the bylaws, read the policy of governance. I mean, this group emphasizes honesty, and I'm going to be honest, they're not lying. They're literally telling us that they want to rule over our government, so they're not lying. Like I said, I really want to make sure that people are reading into stuff before they make executive decisions to either be part of these groups or to throw your vote behind certain parties or individuals. I surmise that they have infiltrated a few of the political parties. They've even talked about working with political parties to bring them together. That's never going to happen, but I surmise that they're looking at trying to stack the deck in their favor within these other parties. So like I said, it won't matter who wins the election. So anyways, yeah, that's kind of what I found out over the past weekend there, and I was really surprised. And I don't blame the general audience that was within this meeting, because again, there are people that are looking for that hope. But really, people just really look into it. I don't know, Stefanos, what's your take on it? By the way, hi.
Hello, and like I said, we have sheep voting, right? So people are going to vote just for the fact because it's conservative, or just for the fact it's a liberal or an NDP. They don't care. Nobody does their research, and that's a big problem. Then we have the other half of the problem, which is I'm just not going to vote. And that's even a bigger problem, because then those powers that be will bus and truck in as many of their voters as they can. Unions are known for this. Get all their union members going in there. They even poll their workers to see who they're going to vote for, which is completely illegal, by the way. And they will haul them all in to vote. And then at the end of the day, you didn't vote. You didn't use your voice. So guess what? You're going to be ruled by them, whether you like it or not. And, we went over Bill 100 last week. How can you vote conservative at Bill 100 or any of these other psychopathic parties? Because they are all pushing the same thing. Some might be at a different pace. Some might be more extreme. Some a little less. But you're still going to get that. There's 20 parties? Do your research. Wake up. Do your research. Look at their platforms. If they resonate for you, vote for them. Plain and simple. These are the same parties that have us where we're at today. Our constitutional rights being stripped away from us at an alarming rate. our private property rights being infringed on at an alarming rate. The courts have been ruling in our favor, but still, they proceed, they progress. Here's a good example. We have a Supreme Court ruling in Canada on the victim surcharge or the surcharge when you get a ticket. Those are unconstitutional. It's been ruled in the courts as being unconstitutional, but they continue to charge them because nobody has challenged them in the other realms. So, like provincial offenses or traffic court, no one's challenged them. This has only been in the criminal court. At the end of the day, all of the surcharges should be gone. Somebody needs to stand up and make sure that they are going to stand on your constitutional rights, because this is cruel and unusual punishment. You're being penalized with a fine, then you're being penalized again with another fine on top of it. And who's the victim here, actually, when let's use a speeding ticket, for example. Who's the victim? The only victim here is you. You're the one who's getting double dipped into your pocket and your money being stolen out of your pocket. That's the victim, is yourself. So, people got to bring up these challenges, these constitutional challenges, and put an end to this. It's just crazy. The whole system's gone wacko.
I can't say I'm surprised. But you know what? The system itself, you were saying earlier, the system's not that bad. It's the people we've put into power that are causing these problems. And Joey's just explaining how some people are manipulating the system to get to those powerful positions that they want so they can control everything. Trudeau's done it. Gerald Butts has been doing it for years. He destroyed Ontario, and now he's working on the whole country.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And again, there are a lot of pieces of legislation out there, and what maybe the average person who's not involved in politics or whatever don't understand is there are legislations that are made in good faith, actual good faith. But the problem is the regulations to those legislation are not made by the elected officials. The regulations are made by bureaucrats. And this is where the unconstitutionality of these legislations happen, because these bureaucrats are pushing all this garbage. We have tons of NGOs, lobbyists. You have the government itself being infiltrated. We've seen the WEF, but at the top of the chain, it's the United Nations. They have no authority here. We're a sovereign people, a sovereign country. So since they can't implement their Marxist policies, they get these elected people such as Trudeau, who swore that he was going to implement fully Agenda 2030 in Canada. And this is what we're seeing. So this is not representative of the people of Canada. So how is that not treason? How is that not circumventing Canadians' rights? We all
So
see.
Stefanos,
Yeah.
sorry to interject here. I just have a question here for everybody in the room. So when in Canada we swear an oath if we're elected into office. So my question is so does that oath mean anything? Can we, the voters, hold the elected bodies to that oath that they swear upon coming in?
No, absolutely not. The oath is voluntary. You don't even have to take it. And this is why a lot of them, when they get in, they will swear the oath at first and then immediately rescind that oath. So the very fact that they do that, they're not upholding Canadian values. They're not upholding the Canadian people's voice. And these are the elected people that are supposed to be the voice for their constituents in whatever riding or municipality they're running in, or the country in a federal level. And this is something they are not doing, and they're blatant about it. They're upfront. There's nothing in the legislation. There's no recall legislation, so we can't pull them out of office. So we can't even do that. So they are enjoying complete and full immunity unless.
Yeah. Guess what? How long is it going to be this time? Let me see if I can reset
He
it.
gets on a good
1 hour later.
4 hours later, Ed, this stuff is just crazy. When I start talking about this stuff, it happens. And then nothing for the rest.
You just got silenced again.
Holy smoke. Are you kidding me still?
You're good now. Go.
Right, so here, I'll give you a great example. So we all seen the video floating around of Trudeau's minister trying to justify Bill C-11, silencing free speech, another unconstitutional bill online or whatever. And they say, let me put it to you this way. People are afraid to express their freedom of expression or speech because they get attacked by all these horrible comments. You know what you liken that to? You liken that to the police shooting you and killing you in order to protect you from yourself. That is the craziness that we've endured now. If somebody has an opinion, they can say their opinion. If someone has an opposing opinion, then you have that freedom to oppose that opinion, debate, or whatever. Not we're going to silence everyone because people are afraid to speak. That's just BS. That's just like the Trudeau and the emergencies that they pulled, the Emergencies Act, saying uh, we're violating Canadians' constitutional rights with a convoy and honking. That's complete bullshit because of the fact that the Canadian Constitution does not apply person to person. Canadian Constitution only applies to government and their agencies. So, under the guise of protecting constitutional rights, they're restricting constitutional rights. That's the insanity of it all. And since people simply don't know law or what the Constitution stands for, they end up turning around and believing this garbage and eating up all this crap that these elected dictators are spewing out to them. It's just insane.
Hang on. One thing I was thinking about when you're talking about violating the Constitution, wasn't some anti-hate Canada group, someone affiliated with Bernie Farber, just awarded $40 million to come up with narratives to spin and information to send out to the media so that the cops could pick it up and charge everyone on it? Isn't that kind of what happened in Ottawa?
I don't know, Ed. I'm not familiar with that, but I do know that government is funding anti-hate to collect information on people that they deem hateful people or whatever. And
Well, hang on. Not hateful, just anti-communist.
well, and I said what they deem as hateful. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Who makes the decision of who's hateful? Critical race theory we're seeing in schools. They're even going as far as saying people are subconsciously racist and white privilege. That's a boatload of bullshit right there. Because
Well, hang on. Here's their get out of free jail card for those guys. They say it's a theory, not a theorem, a theory.
well,
Theory is just, I suspect all mosquitoes are 6'4" and weigh 200 pounds. That's my theory, and I'm going to go with it.
yeah,
A theorem is if I can grab a mosquito, weigh him, and see how long he is, and then it's agreed on, undisputably, then it becomes a theorem.
so that opens the door to any police officer that shoots someone. Are you going to now claim that they're subconsciously murderers? This is the insanity. There's one thing I've noticed with the Liberal government of today and the NDP and the rest of those nutcases.
Actually, you know what? I think we should expand on this.
You could.
I think any cop that's got a baton or a gun or bullets for that gun or handcuffs intends to be violent. It's premeditated. Let's nail them on the same laws.
Well, Ed, that's a little bit different because of the fact that they are armed with weapons. That's factual evidence that they are prepared and will use those weapons against you. This stuff of theory is not factual. So there's a difference there. So you have theory as being a theory, something someone's made up that looks good to them on paper, so they're going to impose it. But when you have a police officer with a gun and a baton, you know they're going to use it. So that's factual. This stuff
Have
is
we ever been free, Stefanos?
nah, not for a very long time. Absolutely not. And this
So
new
the original documents, the original layout, though, was there ever like is there was it set up originally in the favor of the people, and it's just been manipulated over the years? Is that what happened?
Sure, it absolutely is. Look at Magna Carta. Was it the king? I believe was faced to sign the document, or he would be beheaded, and and that came into play. So at that point in time, yes, but over the years, there's that gradual slope where they keep. Government by nature is tyrannical. If they were not, we would not need documents such as the Constitution or the Magna Carta, because we would have no worry to have a protections against that. And now it's gotten even much worse to that, because now they're using our own Constitution to turn around and say that we have to restrict or infringe on your constitutional rights in order to protect them, which makes no sense at all. Like I said, a cop's going to shoot and kill you to protect you from harming yourself. Does that make sense?
Well, it does in these crazy days with all this far leftist lunacy and the shit that these lunatics are putting out. Sure, it makes perfect sense in
Well,
2022.
and what I've noticed most about these political parties and the garbage that's being imposed now is this stuff is all make believe bullcrap. Um, you know, in the courts, I've said it before. They have a sign up on the wall: if you're First Nations or Indigenous, or identify as such. So I'm a freaking unicorn. I'm a raging unicorn. What do I fall under? Do I get out of the white man's criminal system and go into a native system, or do I now have to bring up my own legal system that I got to come up with, because there's no legal system for raging unicorns? This is make believe being made reality now. Another fine example is the lady that took those people to human rights tribunal because of the fact that they identified as a 6 foot black man. Meanwhile, they were a female, I think 5 foot. So where's the limits here? What is there to prevent this from happening? You can't even call it political correctness, because it's not even political correctness at this point. This is just make believe becoming reality.
So, was Canada built? Now I understand that the banking system's completely different. I understand the political system's completely different. There's no way in the United States that they could ever have more than two parties. Well, realistically, the infrastructure to set up a third party is just it's enormous, and it's not favorable. So they're a two-party system. Our governmental system allows four more parties to have a chance. Now, whether or not they get a seat in the House or a couple of seats in the House, that's questionable. Now, where I was going with this line of questioning is so when the United States was set up, all of the states were they're independent nations. So they have their own constitution, all that kind of stuff. And I'm wondering, are the provinces actually already independent nations? And we've just been lied to over the years. The reason I'm asking this is because there's an individual that was charged in Ontario, and he resides here in Alberta, and Ontario does not have a jurisdiction to drag him back to Ontario. So I'm just wondering, because of that, is there something there like that sets that perforation at the provinces?
So they're not independent states to say, And that's where, you're starting to get into law. And I'll try to shorten it so everybody can understand it, but it goes much deeper than that. So in the States, and we're starting to see that in Canada quite a bit. So in the States, federally, it was, and I believe it still is, marijuana. Let's use that for an example. Marijuana is a federal offense, but in certain states they've legalized it. So even though it's legal, you might have ATF on the federal branch come in and arrest you. Um, this we are now seeing in Canada starting to emerge, where the federal government now, and what the hell is that bill? The is it Bill 2C30 or C233? The one where they're trying to give everyone free dental, free this, free that, where it's not their jurisdiction. Those are provincial jurisdictions, so federal cannot infringe on that. And this goes back to the Constitution again, where you have the division of powers. What's federal? What's provincial? And what falls under provincial and federal? And another great example is where Trudeau said, well, on federal, we're going to say that municipalities can now house people's handguns to be a space. They're going to make spaces for them to store their firearms by the municipality. No, that can't happen. That's the federal government is going outside their jurisdiction because municipalities are provincial jurisdiction. So this is where we're getting that overlapping. This is now the federal government saying we are now in a full-blown communist country, period. And what I say goes. And the hell with your constitutional rights. We've been seeing this problem from the get-go here. It's just that they're getting more and more bolden and empowered, and they're pushing these things through.
Actually, if you guys go back and look at the original Constitution of 1867, it was set up where you had Upper Canada, Lower Canada, I think it was New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and the federal government was not allowed to do direct taxation. They were only allowed import and excise taxes, and even that was limited way back in 1867. The government has never had the authority for direct taxation according to the original Constitution of 1867. Now, the provinces have negotiated away these rights. Income tax is collected. You notice how in Quebec collects their own income tax. The government doesn't. The feds don't do it for them. Provinces handed away this authority.
Oh, don't they?
Yeah.
Well, Ed, that comes on to all the provinces that signed on to Canada and signed on to the Constitution, and this is why Quebec still does that, is because Quebec operates on a Marxist Roman code, which is the lower, as you said, not the upper. So this is why Quebec is doing it that way. And the federal income tax came in during the war. It was supposed to help the war effort, was supposed to be temporary, was never supposed to be permanent. But as tyrannical government always does, becomes more tyrannical and makes things more permanent. So, and this is why we're living in this now. I know Jean-Serge Brison on, actually we should get him on the show sometime if possible, and let him speak about his fun with the CRA, which in his case he won. And there's no precedent case law for the government to win when it comes to income tax. I believe it was something along, he was operating a business for some 20 years and never claimed income tax, and they had him in court. That's all I'm going to say, but he ended up winning his case, and he presented case law in favor of the people. There's no case law in favor of the government. So I can't remember his case completely, so that's something I'll let him speak to, but that's something that people should probably hear. And he's a past party leader of the Libertarian Party of Ontario. So so very smart man, and he knows his stuff. So, but again, taxation is theft. That's what us libertarians like to say, because it literally is. How much of your paycheck is left for you after you get tax, and you get taxed on everything else? Now, carbon tax, that's a tax on breathing, because everyone breathes carbon. It's just an insane scheme they have to drain us of every single penny that we have.
Don't forget about Timothy Ball, right?
That's right. Tim Ball won both his court cases. Tim's a friend of mine. I know him personally, and yeah, a defamation case from the Green Party. Can you believe that? Defamation on climate change. The judge laughed at him. It was like a joke, and out that went. And then the was it Michael Mann, whoever the hell that psycho was who came up with the hockey stick theory. It's just a computer program. We've been seeing this all through the pandemic. Projected cases, projected. This is a computer program, just like climate change. It it dictates what will happen by the number that is input at the start of the program. This is not based on science. There is absolutely no scientific data whatsoever of man-made climate change. There is the only thing that is real is natural climate cycle that has remained unchanged from the beginning of time. So our climate's not been changed. Why aren't we dead yet? These psychos, when just after Trump was elected, were saying the end of the world was 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. How can people be so blind and believe this garbage when the courts have already ruled on it? There's no evidence whatsoever of man-made climate change, period.
Klaus Schwab disagrees with you, as does Greta. She doesn't agree with you either, Stefanos.
Well, Greta's a little child that needs to be spanked by her Antifa parents, and maybe her Antifa parents need to be spanked too, just to knock some sense into their behinds, because obviously they're not thinking with their brains. So they might jar something loose down there, and they might, welcome to reality. But these guys, Schwab, it's all over control. It's all about trying world control. It's no different than Hitler's plan in World War II for one madman to take over the world. It's now turned into Hitler's plans being imposed on us now, except for being one guy. You have like 150 countries trying to take over the world. That's the difference. And under the guise of it being voluntarily.
How come nobody in the mainstream media ever mentions or digs into the fact that Greta Thunberg is a relative of George Soros?
Well, more than likely because they've been paid some $600 million or more to push what they want to be said and not what the actual truth is.
And I think I read today CBC's $1.4 billion is what they got off the government for the past year.
Well, there you go. That's a hell of a lot of money, don't you think? Billion now?
So it's only $1,400 million.
What the heck? It's only money, right? Monopoly. You want to have a game later on?
So I was sent a message here, like on my own email. How easy is it for independence through or separation, whichever way you want to word it? How easy is that? Is that something that can be done through opening the Constitution, or is that something that is done separately from that? I'm of course speaking to Stefanos on that one.
Yeah, well, there's no way to do it. Look, we seen when the Constitution was altered how hard it was to get it altered at all, that they had to leave out a country to get it ratified because none of the provinces will agree to it. And it sure as hell isn't going to happen with the people because they're not making the legislation. So these elected idiots that we've put into power, They're the ones that are opening and closing and altering, but all the provinces have to agree on it. It's just one big, huge crap show. And, there's, you touched on a point earlier, which is good because the States is a two-party system. You have all the parties either on one side or the other. Totally unconstitutional. In Canada, we don't have a four-party system. That's wrong. We have Ed, how many parties were up on the website when I showed you? There's like around 20 parties. So
Provincially, yeah.
yeah, if you don't sit there and look up the parties and actually do your research and look at their platforms and see what resonates with you, we're screwed because we're stuck with either a communist party of some type or a communist party of some type because they're all pushing the same garbage. Unless we break that cycle of voting like sheep just because it's a conservative party or a liberal party, we're doomed to repeat the same garbage again, and it's only going to get more tyrannical and worse. So
Hang
we're
on, hang on. Are you mispronouncing that word? It's conservative.
oh yes, sorry, conservative or the PC party, at least on the provincial level. I like to refer to them as the Progressive Communist Party instead of the Progressive Conservative Party because they're full blown commies, and factual evidence of that is Bill 100, where they deny you even the right to a hearing, to a court hearing, the right for police to arrest without warrants. Are you kidding me? We are in a full blown commie state here, and they'll just show up at your house after you go speak at a rally or even just show up for support. All of a sudden, you got the Nazi jackboot brown shirts at your door hauling you out, and straight into a prison you go. They'll leave you into the gulags for however long they see fit. At the same time, they're fining you up the keister, and they're going to take your property, be it your car, your truck, your house, your fork, whatever property. Not everything is broadly termed, so anything can mean everything, period.
I saw a comment that you put up on there from a Barb. The only advice that I have for you, if you caught the beginning of the show, is make sure you read everything when it comes to any of these groups, Barb. Here's the thing: even if Alberta or any province, heads towards the way of being independent. I mean, the thing is if it's something that is a possibility, you have to make sure that there are certain checks and balances in place, or you're going to find out that there are smarter people than us that are going to infiltrate very easily, and we will be in a worse situation than we were in prior to the departure. So that is a warning. Make sure you read the bylaws, because some of these places that you think are on the up and up, it says right in there that they are beholden to their investors. So make sure you read before you make that executive decision.
So that's in the Alberta Prosperity Project. You seen that, or?
I can't speak on it. I'm just saying make sure you read everything. That's all I'm saying.
Well, why don't we go take a look, see what we can find on there?
Well, Ed, look, I've said a million times wording is everything, and it is. Um, Look, we got pictures of Trudeau and Gates together, buddy buddy. You got pictures of Polyev praising Bill Gates and pictures with him again. You have all this stuff. You got Derek Sloan and his team. Every one of them voted for the critical race theory. Are you guys like short-term memory, or are you didn't read anything? You just see this guy because of whatever? We had Randy Hillier with his deal with Ford. You got Roman Baber also with the deal with Ford. Who the hell are you going to vote for? You going to vote for these guys? They have deals to keep Ford in power. This makes no sense. People need to wake the hell up, do your research, stop sitting at home and listening because mom and dad says vote for this party. You're going to do it blindly. You might as well just say just go up to a cliff and the edge is 10 feet away from you and tell them, throw this blindfold out, walk on this direction, and go for about 30 feet till you fall off a cliff. Are you going to do it? Somebody tells you to jump off a bridge. Are you going to do it? Obviously, something says hell no. Could mean the end of your life. So,
well, not necessarily. Look at the past 2 years. Wear a mask.
yeah, we've seen where that got us all, right? So we see all the crap with Bonnie Henry on the stand today. She's not even qualified, and she admitted her liability. She admitted all of this stuff works against the poor. She admitted all of this garbage. Never mind. And now you know why the other person, I can't remember what the hell her name was, something you, is it Deanna you or something stupid like that in Alberta, fired by fired as the health officer there too.
Yep.
Why? Well, why is because the ship is sinking and all the rats got to get off, and the suckers who take over are going to be the scapegoats that get nailed with all the lawsuits that are coming. And they're coming, people, trust me. University of Toronto dropped all their mandates. Why? Because a huge human rights slap suit was, or sorry, not a slap suit, a human rights suit was put against them by staff and students.
I know one major lawsuit that's coming down the pipe towards AHS. So I know that for a fact. I can't speak about it. There's other lawsuits that are going on. Again, I can't speak about them, but it's going to be very active in our court system in the very near future.
Yes, thanks, Sylvia. Verna, that's it. Thank you very much. I was thinking Dina Henshaw. Sorry. Yeah, you're right. And so there are the rats right there leaving, and Henshaw is giving devastating, damaging testimony today. I don't know if everyone's seen it or not, but people should be looking at this stuff. You shouldn't be sitting back not doing anything or anything like that. Man, so here's one of the quotes is Hinshaw admits the measures she imposed caused harm to the public. We have done everything we can to balance the benefits of containing the illness with unintended harm of the measures. Bullcrap. What unintended harm? That is harm, whether you like it or not. And if it's unintended harm, there's something called injurious affection. Look at that. Many municipalities have been sued under injurious affection. And that is, let's say they were being honest and they didn't want to cause harm, but as a result of their imposing things, it did cause harm. And that was the which case was that? There was like a $450,000 case that a truck stop won just because they put a medium in the middle of the road between the truck stop and the other side, so people couldn't turn into the truck stop any longer. That's injurious affection. That's something they done, and it was an unforeseen harm. But when there's harm done, people need to be made whole again. So they are harming. And here you see with Hinshaw again, or Verna, sorry, as court is ongoing, some other AHS drama is unfolding. Finally, AHS held Verna Yu is fired by the UCP. Yep. But every health minister who let her mismanage the healthcare system for her obscene salary should be gone too. And why I like the point of the obscene salary in Niagara, Dr. Hergy, as I like to call him. I don't like to call him doctor. I call him the death doctor, because their mandates that they have imposed on people have caused many deaths. And this guy is supposed to be a temporary health doctor, and He has been in place, I believe it's since 2017. We're in 2022 now. Is this a temporary position or is this a full-time position? And his salary in all those years were anywhere from 230,000 a year. But you come up to this last year, all of a sudden his salary has like doubled, more than doubled, 53.7 or 8%. He's now getting 450 some $1,000. Why? Are you kidding me? For what?
Because the reason and I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that the reason. So when I worked in government, what happens is the government doesn't even profess that they know anything about healthcare. They don't even claim they know anything about healthcare. What they do is they talk to the top end in healthcare and they ask them how can they make the system leaner, or how can they make the system better or more economical or something like that. Now, these guys on the top end are not going to say, well, you need to fire me and my entire department. They're going to turn around and say, well, you need to fire all these janitors. You need to fire, the laundry workers, and, subcontract them out to a company in, I don't know, Calgary or something like that. Get rid of those bad doctors and those bad nurses. That's what they're going to do. So the government says, yeah, okay, because they're trusting that these people know what they're talking about.
Well, here, and I'm going to give you a good example, and we're going to go back to Henshaw again, and let this sink into all of you people out there. This has absolutely nothing to do with health, everything to do with control. Gray asks why Dr. Henshaw's evidence contains reference to social justice. I'm going to say this to everyone. When the hell does healthcare or public safety have to do with social justice? And then it goes on to say, as it relates to public policy and how it informed her decision making. AHS's lawyer immediately objects when Gray refers to it as socialism applied to healthcare policy. This is it, people. We have a bunch of socialists and socialism being imposed on us. And just so you all know, socialism is just the reinvention of communism, which has been tried many times throughout history and always fails. Socialism, as I like to say, is the kind word for communism because everybody associates social with being you're out having some social drinks with people. Social media. This is why they choose that word because it's easily brainwashed into everybody and it's an acceptable term so that you accept it. Socialism is not acceptable. Communism has never been acceptable from the beginning. Never has, never will, and always, always, always ends in millions of deaths and in a revolution. We've seen it over and over. History has taught us this.
Is waterboarding as much fun as wakeboarding?
I guess it depends if it's the person being waterboarded or the person.
Yeah, he got stopped on that.
1 hour later. 1 hour later.
Come on, Stefano. Ceases, let him go. Come on. He was on a roll. Amazing, isn't it? Look how long
Well,
it's going
I
to
like
take.
to see an impeachment act being brought in for all these governments. You keep hearing about this recall. That's one of the big topics here in Alberta. Welcome back, Stefanos. You keep hearing about these recall things, and everybody is under the impression that it's the same as impeachment, and it's not. If you actually read what's being proposed here in Alberta, it's up to the opinion of the chief electoral officer. And once they make up their opinion, you can't even battle that. You can't even counter that. Your next course of action is to go to court of Queen's Bench. So if they say it's okay, you have to obtain 40% of the signatures within that particular riding. And at best, if you're able to do it successfully, that particular member is just simply removed. I'd like to see impeachment where they actually get charged and there's actual guidelines and rules that are set out that the politicians have to follow. Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think that's ever going to come into play, Stefanos? Do you see that at all?
I don't know. I'll pose this question to you: is impeachment something in Canada, or is that just an American thing? I don't know. I haven't looked into that, so I'm not sure about that. But did you get at least the whole waterboarding answer there? It was quite
No.
No, you're just starting on it. I said, what's your preference, waterboarding or wakeboarding? And what's the difference?
I was saying it depends if you're the person being waterboarded or the person doing the waterboarding to them. It could be enjoyable or not. So it just depends on the psychopath that's doing it or receiving it. Probably not a psychopath receiving.
And the wakeboarding?
The wakeboarding, if it's the person, going on doing the wakeboarding, hell yeah, they're enjoying it when they're doing it. So just depends on the situation. If you're the tyrant or if you're the receiver of it.
Right on. So, Joey, I want to touch on that on Stefano's little loophole that even Doug Ford doesn't know about. Or do you want to still keep talking about what people should be digging into various freedom movements and if they have constitutions or who they're accountable to, or take a look what's their agenda?
Yeah, that's a good question, Ed. You really should do that. And Joey's right on the money there because I've said it before. These people that are putting on workshops to teach you how to lay private informations, that's purely for their gain, not yours. That's monetary gain. They're charging monetary for that. I've sent the links out, tells you exactly how you do it. You don't need anyone to do that. You just take that crap, regurgitate it to the people. All these people don't understand law. They run out, they lay all these private charges. The Crown takes over, throws it out, and then you're left with a lawsuit pending on you because you can be now held accountable for your actions because you just do not know the law.
Anything else we got to cover on that subject before we move on, or?
I think everything's been covered. I had a glitch there that I missed what you said, Ed. I heard the first part, so I heard what Stefano said, so I completely agree with him. The only thing that I have to say to conclude is regardless if it's a party or if it's a group or anything like that, whatever you're joining and being a part of, read. And I don't mean just read the forefront. Read the back end because there's usually something hidden. And again, you got to understand, I'm not saying these people are stupid. They're definitely not stupid, but they're probably going to slide something in on the back end. So make sure you read everything inside and out. Listen to what they say. Listen to like almost look at it like what a lawyer would read it as it's said or as it's written. Because when I was part of the meeting and I overheard this leader get up and say, I want to rule over the government, I was just like, whoa, this is not at all what you're presenting. And I don't think the majority of the people within that room caught it. So that's my best advice. Make sure that you're completely and totally aware of everything that's going on. And that's my conclusion to all of that.
Was there any particular clause or statement that caught your eye? Set off a red flag?
Well, first of all, the main individual part of said group, his statement was one. I don't recollect if it was in the governance or if it's in the bylaws. It was buried in the back end, and it literally says that they are beholden to their investors. And again, I mean that just screams that they don't really care what their members or the public thinks. They're just going to do whatever their investors are. That tells me that if I come in with a major bankroll and I say, look, you know what, I want I don't know, sneezing to be made illegal, something ridiculous like that, then, this particular group is going to order the government to make sneezing illegal just because I told them to. Maybe I'm a business that sells antihistamines or something like that, right? That's what it sounds like to me. So like I said, it's just make sure that you look at everything. And like I said, it's not necessarily the front end message, the whole thing about, and I've been to, freedom rallies. I've been to, these independence groups and all sorts of things. And I've sat down at the table. I've talked with these people personally. And I mean, they consult me because I have worked in government and I am well known out there through the political circuit. And they pick my brain for knowledge and all this kind of stuff. I got to be honest, I did not set any of this stuff up. But one of the things is like I said, when they come out and on the forefront, it looks like, we're looking at economic freedom and freedom from the federal government, and we're gonna have prosperity and this and that, and there's rainbows and unicorns everywhere. Okay, but at what cost? What are we selling out for? Or is it really like that? If it's really like that, then we the people have the right. If this is really a proposal for a government or a governmental body that is of the people, by the people, or for the people, you know what, I will 100% jump on that bandwagon. I will 100% help people. I have no problem with that whatsoever. But I got to be honest with you, none of the parties are coming close to saying that, and none of these groups are coming close to saying that. And that's honest, because I've been reading all of this stuff. The members, the people that belong to them, all that kind of stuff, they have the hope, they have the dream, and they're believing everything that's been said to them on the forefront, but they're not reading the back end and seeing really what's going on. So if you've got, 3 or 4 parties that are in the back end, in these guys' back pocket, it's not looking good. So
Well,
again, research.
Absolutely correct. I've talked to a couple of so-called freedom fighters that have been doing many organizations and many leaders and CEO of all these hundreds of groups, and they flat out told me, who cares if it's right or wrong? It's giving them hope. Well, the problem with that is, who cares? You're giving them hope on a false pretense. So when their world comes collapsing down on them, it's going to hit a lot harder than it would normally, and you're going to be on the receiving end of that. But there's 2 comments that were made here, and I'd love to address them because I find them most important. Rob Fairbrand, I hope I said that right. If I didn't, sorry. Natural law is truth or God's law, and you're absolutely correct. And the Constitution is based on that. It says it right in there, the supremacy of God. So you're absolutely right. The other one is HARP happenings. If it's criminal, there's no denying the law. So private information is effective in this manner. Well, let me ask you this, Harp. If a government decides under their lawful order, their legislation, let's just take Bill 195, the Reopening Ontario Act, that came in and passed in legislation. So now it's law, and they make mandates under this law, so that makes that law. And then you go and lay a private information, a criminal charge against them. What happens then? You read in the criminal code, whatever you're charging them with, and it always has the line in there, without lawful authority is guilty of an offense of whatever it is. So when you have law being made and law under that law being made, is it unlawful? or is it lawful? And then you go lay a charge against him. Is it going to be an unlawful or lawful charge? And that is where you're going to get screwed, because it is lawful under the law. That's where you have to open your eyes and understand that the people that do this kind of garbage and suck money out of you for something that is available to the public, that it's with lawful authority they're doing it. It may not be constitutional, but this is where the constitutional challenge needs to be brought in. And then you are open to a lawsuit back, or you may be arrested for that charge. First thing, I've done 4 of these. First thing the police always say to the person you're charging, you want to charge them, you can charge them. So there's the difference. And that's a whole can of worms. And I would not suggest anybody doing that unless you read and know the law. Go get an opinion from a lawyer. Make sure you have a legal opinion on that, because you're opening yourself up to some pretty big time harm there. Just everybody do your due diligence. Don't take anyone's words as being gold. Don't even take my words for being gold. I've been known to be wrong at times. I'm man enough to admit that. But never go in with your eyes closed and thinking it's going to be a cakewalk. You just lay the charge and they're going to get screwed. Doesn't happen like that. You need to know the charges. You need to know the tests that are met, because you are now acting as a Crown attorney if the Crown doesn't take it over and throw it out. So then you need to know the arguments, the counter arguments, the tests that need to be made in order for a successful conviction. Because if by somehow the Crown does not throw it out and you take carriage of the case and start trying to prosecute, and you don't know what the hell you're doing and you lose, then again, you're open to a lawsuit. I wouldn't suggest private charges on anyone unless you know what the hell you're doing.
So let me ask you this one. If you got half a dozen 20-something olds and they're beating the hell out of a 7-year-old man, what's the test for attempted murder?
Well, that's just the police being negligent in their duties. And again, I've said it before, and I found out through this with my own lawsuits against the police.
Can't talk about lawsuits with the police now.
Uh,
Go ahead.
So as I was saying, I found out through my own lawsuits when I sued the police a couple of times that the police are not there. They have no duty to protect people. That's a falsehood. That's a fallacy. Their duty is to protect the level of government that hires them, to protect that government's interest, not the people. So they don't have to even legally act. They can sit back and relax. Your only recourse in that would be a tort of battery. And torts are quasi-criminal, and they're also civil. So you would get a monetary payout, and you would also seal a criminal conviction on them. Torts are extremely powerful. I've said it over and over. So you really need to explore those areas if police refuse to act.
Anyways, guys, it's time to move on to our favorite part of the show. This is a section you're going to want to share it. This is almost like a birthday present. Happy birthday, everybody. Stefanos, what's this all about?
It's pretty microscopic, Ed. I don't know. Pull it up. I can't even see that. Let me get some glasses on.
See if I can make it bigger.
Okay, so this is for the people who can read it out there. This is going to apply to people in Ontario. If you have been charged for being an event organizer.
Hang on, let me read this out first. Prevention of proceedings that limit freedom of expression on matters of public interest. Gag proceedings. Dismissal of proceedings that limits debate purposes. 137.1. The purpose of the section in sections 137.2 to 137.5 are A. To encourage individuals to express themselves on matters of public interest. B. To promote broad participation in debates on matters of public interest. C. To discourage the use of litigation as a means of unduly limiting expression on matters of public interest. And D. To reduce the risk that participation by the public in debates on matters of public interest will be hampered by fear of legal action. 2015 C23S3. Shall I read the definition?
Why the hell not?
All right. Definition expression 2 in this section. Expression means any communication, regardless of whether it is made verbally or non-verbally, whether it is made publicly or privately, and whether or not it is directed at a person or entity. Order to dismiss. 3. On a motion by a person against whom a proceeding is brought, a judge shall, subject to subsection 4, dismiss the proceeding against the person if the person satisfies the judge that the proceeding arises from an expression made by the person that relates to a matter of public interest. No dismissal. A judge shall not dismiss a proceeding under section 3 if the responding party satisfies the judge that A. There are grounds to believe that 1. The proceedings has substantial merit, and 2. The moving party has no valid defense in the proceeding, and B. The harm likely to be or have been suffered by the responding party a result of the moving party's expression is sufficiently serious that the public interest in permitting the proceeding to continue outweighs the public interest in protecting that expression. No further steps in the proceeding. Once a motion under the section is made, no further steps may be taken in the proceeding by any party until the motion, including any appeal of the motion, has been finally disposed of. No amendments to pleadings.
You don't have to go past that because it just goes up to 0.5. So what this means is for anybody who is charged for speaking at a public event during these lockdowns and everything else, this is the section that you need to hang on. This is what you have to base your defense on. We've all heard about the slap suits, and that's to silence people. And this is a gag proceeding known as, and that is, again, to silence people. But this way they're using provincial offenses or such in those matters. So if you were a person speaking at an event and then you got charged afterwards for being an event organizer, you base your defense on this, bring a motion, and have the case thrown out. And that was done, either it was today or yesterday that happened for a person who was speaking at a public event, because it is trying to silence you. And COVID, we all know, is of the public interest. We all know that businesses that remained open and had protests, those again are of public interest. There's absolutely no evidence whatsoever that COVID spreads at these. There's no evidence whatsoever that COVID even exists. So these will be thrown out. This is what you need to base your defense on and have these things thrown out. This is all, and this just applies to Ontario. This is the Ontario Courts of Justice Act, 137.1. It is a gag proceeding. They've charged you to shut you up.
Like I said, happy birthday, everybody. Or Merry Christmas. No comments in the chat. Uh-oh. Have we been taken off or what?
I don't know. This is maybe we have some pretty lame information here for tonight. I don't know.
Maybe everybody knows this exists.
No, I've never heard of anyone saying this. So
The chat's frozen. Why? Is chat still working? Somebody type something.
no, somebody just typed something.
Okay. Okay, we're still up. Everyone's speechless, I guess.
Well, this is good. Either way, it's good because these types of legislation are very clear, and you don't need to have to explain anything. This stuff is very clear in this matter. They can't limit free speech. They can't limit expression, uh, constitutional or not. You still have this step. You can go on. If not, you can always move up to the next step and appeal. So it's there. Constitutional challenges are there. We need to hold this tyrannical communist government on all levels to account here.
Okay, so where is this found? This legislation? What is this part of?
That's the Ontario Courts of Justice Act.
Now, does that have more authority or more power than, say, Bill 195?
Yes, because that is actually the case that it was thrown out on based on this was Bill 195.
Okay, cool.
Either it was 10.7 or 10.1 being an organizer, so they can't silence matters of public interest.
So if I got a ticket, say an $880 ticket for speaking at an event in Belleville, and it's because I spoke at the event, I would just take this and say, hey, Judge, Bill 137.1, quash this, please.
Yes, you would bring that up, and the Crown would have to bring up arguments and evidence of why it shouldn't be quashed. And since there is no evidence of COVID, no evidence of these events spreading anything, and again, so it's not causing harm and it is of the public interest, it will be thrown out. Remember, everything's based on evidence. Theory doesn't work here. In a real court of law, if you don't have facts, it's finished.
Now, how about Bill 100 that's going to be coming out soon? Has that
I
passed
was
yet?
just going to ask.
That's going to be tomorrow. So Tuesday, we'll see if they pass it on Tuesday or not, because they are ignoring the public. They are a communist party that is in power in Ontario, and they skipped second reading altogether. So once the second reading passes, if you do your research on all the bills, third reading happens and the bill ends up receiving royal assent. Sometimes, even in the same setting, it'll receive royal assent. So, this is a bill that will need to be challenged constitutionally. So, there will have to be a constitutional challenge by somebody out there on Bill 100 when it passes.
But doesn't this supersede Bill 100 or not?
Well, I guess that remains to be seen. If you're out there speaking against Bill 100 and you get charged, then you're going to have to implement this at that point. And since it's a theory and not based on any factual evidence, they're going to be hard pressed to seal a conviction against you.
All right. So what's the process? Maybe I should go get myself charged and use this as a defense. What do I got to do?
Just go speak at an event. If they decide to charge you, well, there you go. Have at it.
And I guess for the infrastructure part, I should do it on my truck and be parked on a roadway.
There's nothing that says you can't be on a roadway. There's nothing that says you can't park. And above all, in the Constitution, there's nothing that limits your constitutional right, even say honking. As a matter of fact, when they ban honking through injunctions, that creates a safety situation because you can't honk. So if someone's in front of you and something's happening and you honk so you can get the attention of someone to get out of the way so you don't hit them, you can't lay that horn, or for them to move out of your way, you're going to hit them. And that's going to be a problem because they've now created a serious safety situation by preventing people from honking. And hell, at the end of the day, not only are you going to get sued if it's your fault, but you're going to get charged on top of it if you did honk. So here's a big problem there that they've created.
Here's a question for you guys. So Pat King and Freedom George buildings use this. Why the hell are they still in jail? Can they use this?
Well, I read. I don't think they can use that because they've been charged under other charges, not for speaking at an event. But I think I read somewhere today that Pat King is still unrepresented. So I don't know what's going on. He's shopping around for a lawyer, and so I've had no connection with him or discussion. So I have no idea what's going on there. That's something only Pat could answer. And George, I've heard silence on him, so I'm in the dark on that too.
Anyways, guys, I'll do some digging tonight. I know someone that's close to Pat, and I'll have updates for you tomorrow. All right. So what else? So you don't care about Bill 100, obviously, if it gets passed, right?
Well, of course I care. I always care for any unconstitutional bill that passes. The fact that you're denied a right to a hearing just is, I'm beside myself. How could anybody, especially, I'm going to talk to you freaking conservatives out there, how the freak can you vote for the PC party when they're doing such unconstitutional bills, such as denying your right to a hearing and taking property from you? And property is broadly termed. It can mean anything from your home to your vehicle to your fuel. How the hell can anybody vote for such Marxism, for such communism to be imposed in Ontario? Check your heads. Like I said before, you best make a freaking doctor's appointment and get your head examined if you're thinking, even considering voting for them.
In theory, can't the lieutenant governor shoot this down?
The lieutenant governor will not do anything. The problem is this. Our governor general and our lieutenant governors are supposed to be the people's last line of defense. So if a bill gets passed that is unconstitutional, they are to step in and stop it. Now, they've all become rubber stamps and have all taken it upon themselves to just give royal assent to everything. And the Queen has no clue about it. As we read in the Constitution before, if the Governor General takes it upon himself to grant royal assent, that's with no contact with the Queen. So we don't even have final say from the Queen, but they're supposed to keep it on record or something like that for 2 years, if I remember correctly. Don't quote me on that, though. We'd have to read it again. But so this is something that these people were put in place to become the people's last line of defense, and they have totally neglected their duty to the people and have just become a rubber stamp and grant royal assent to everything.
That's why I said in theory.
Well, in factual, they're supposed to be doing that. Not even theory. That's fact.
Yeah.
And they've completely ignored their duty to do this.
Is there any provisions within Ontario? I know there isn't here in Alberta, but is there any provisions in Ontario for the people of Ontario to be able to remove the lieutenant governor and replace?
No, not at all. And people keep those phone calls and emails. Don't make them phone calls. Sorry, make them emails only, so there is a record of it, a paper trail, so to speak, to the Governor General of Canada to have Trudeau removed in a non-confidence. That was working very well. But once the truckers were removed from Ottawa, all of a sudden it dropped off by the wayside. The Governor General themselves turned around and said that if these calls keep coming in, that they will have no choice but to act, and they would dissolve government forcing an election, whether government wants it or not. So keep those up. Keep emailing the Governor General for a non-confidence vote to get Trudeau out of there. That's the only way we can do that. They've already said that they would act if it kept up. To me, I don't think it's kept up. I think people's hope in that died the day the tyrannical Nazi jackboot brown shirts went in there and started beating everyone and shooting them with rubber bullets and tear gas. So um, keep it up. Don't back off. Keep the pressure on. That's the only way we're going to be able to make effective change and have any of these tyrannical dictator commie bastards removed.
Actually, it's pretty easy to get more people doing this. Can you pull up the address? And I would strongly suggest an email and snail mail. Because if you get 10,000 or even 100,000 letters piling up, man, that takes up a lot of space. That's going to fill their office.
Well,
And
not
you're helping the postman.
Yeah, you don't want to backlog them, but they should have a lot of non-confidence votes and have a forced election. Jag Meat and Trudeau's little bromance they're having right now means nothing if the Governor General steps in and dissolves government. They have no say. Ultimately, it's the Governor General, on the will of the people, who will dissolve government and force an election.
Well, maybe I should have the bikers not have. Maybe I should suggest that the bikers that are arriving in Ottawa at the end of this month concentrate their efforts on the Governor General.
Possibly, good question. It all is dependent upon the people. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Be it a constitutional issue, or such as the Governor General, if we are displeased with something that they're doing or something unconstitutional that's being imposed upon us, we have to take action. Nobody is going to do it for us. So when we fail at this, there's no one to blame but us, the people, not the government. The government is imposing the Marxist, communist, unconstitutional bills. It's the people who are sitting back and doing nothing and letting them get away with it. And that's why they get away with it.
Okay. Joey?
Yes.
Said your piece?
I completely agree. I could not agree more. The fact that the Governor General was saying that, essentially the pressure was working. That's our hint to keep it up. I know it's been coming out lately very clearly that our government's been infiltrated by the World Economic Forum. They haven't been shy about it. They're proud of it. In fact, Klaus Schwab made an announcement not even that long ago that he's proud that he's literally taken over our government. This is definitely something that all of us in Canada should be very worried about. Do you think all hope is gone, Stefanos, or do you think that we can still win this?
Well, no, I don't think hope is gone at all. The weekend protests are great. Keep the pressure on. There's no hiding that stuff. A lot of people are saying this is not doing anything, but that's a defeatist attitude because it is doing things. How do we know this? Because the world took off and all the countries started doing convoys. Everybody, a big worldwide pushback was happening. So to say that nothing comes of it is a falsehood. It's a fallacy. You can't say that because by factual evidence, we have seen it has had a huge impact. And this is what we have to keep doing. We have to push. The hope is there. The Governor General's own words are there. And you know what? It doesn't hurt. I've said it before. Write letters, snail mail. Write letters to the Queen themselves. Back her up with all these comments. They will have no choice but to direct the Governor General to dissolve the government at the end of the day. So it's either going to be done on one stage or the other. The levels are there. The Queen is the ultimate last word on that if the Governor General fails. So get the emails out to the Governor General. Takes a few minutes out of your life to write the Queen. Go to the website. They tell you how to address the Queen and everything because it has to be written in proper English and addressed the correct way. And that will get the attention of the Queen to act. And our emails will get the Governor General to act. Inaction is our problem. We can protest all we want. We'll inspire other countries to do things. And remember, the eyes of the world is on Canada because we have been doing all of this stuff. So, you know, isn't the Queen the top Mason? I don't know. I don't give a rat's behind if she is. The fact of the matter is, she has a duty to her people. She owns Canada. She has the power to dissolve government. And if you have a massive outcrying of the people under a tyrannical communist government, she will have absolutely no choice but to act. Same as the Governor General, period.
The other question that I have, Stefanos, on a federal level, because I know that, you know, I'm part of this group that's up and coming in Alberta, which is going to bring in democracy to Alberta. Me and you talked about it before the show. Like I said, I can't really say too much right now, but in a later date, I will talk more about it in great detail. And it will be definitely of the people, by the people, for the people. So, you know, if we're successful, pushing out Trudeau and pushing it into an election, the bottom line is we need some kind of a replacement. So, in your mind, what you're seeing across the landscape, is there a replacement on a federal scale?
There's always a replacement, and that is going to be that
a better replacement. Sorry.
Yeah, we need to get other parties in, not the four that are always in. These people, again, they are the ones, they are the blame, they are the problem, they are why we are where we're at today. Get other parties in. I told you, look it over. Stop voting for these degenerates because we're not going to be any better off. It's only going to get worse. So, yes, do that. The way we can change this is we have to bring in recall legislation so we can remove parties. All these years I've been active in politics and my own research that I've been doing through the years through different pieces of legislation. All I've witnessed is the removal of accountability by the elected politicians in the legislations. They have been removing everything. As I've said before, Harper removed the trespass trespass as a criminal code. They removed it from the criminal code of Canada. He left only trespass by night. They removed the laying of private information where if you would charge someone through private information, you would take carriage of the case, or you could hire a lawyer to act as the Crown or whatever, and you would prosecute them. The Crown had no say in it, but Harper changed it. It gave the power to the Crown to be able to throw a case out, and there's no reason needed. So when I caught some people and the Niagara Regional Police in a drug ring together, and I laid private charges, the Crown just took it over and threw it out with no reason given whatsoever, and there was nothing I could do. The judge even was pissed. I've never seen a judge so red in the face and angry because there was no power there for me to proceed, and the evidence I had was indisputable. It was right there by the police own records. It was there. And the judge was so angry, he took 2 hours and a half to research all the legislation to find a way through. And there was nothing they could do. And just threw it out. We've seen that happen with Norm Travesey and the 200 some odd people who laid charges on Trudeau for the SNC Lavalin scandal. Just all thrown out. There's nothing you can do because these politicians have been putting legislation and removing accountability from legislation instead of putting accountability in.
Well, even our opposition could have done something, and they didn't do anything. You were saying on a previous show that I was watching that our opposition could have stepped up and they could have pressed charges against Trudeau.
Sure, and they done absolutely nothing. Why? Because if they would step up and do something, the next time, if they ended up in office and being premier or prime minister, then the other side would screw them over. So, and the example I believe I used was Patrick Brown when he was caught, and the complaint went to the Integrity Commission with his Airbnbs. What did he get? He got a $200 fine. That's what they all decided to be his punishment. A $200 fine. Come on, people. These scumbags, they piss away more than that for breakfast, for crying out loud. Never mind $200 fine for accountability. Are you freaking kidding me? So the only way is we need to have a recall legislation implemented in government. I know the Ontario Libertarian Party, I got to get my plug in here. If we get elected into office, we will do an immediate audit of everything the PC party did. We will have an inquiry into the whole thing, this COVID BS and everything else, and we will hold those people accountable that need to be accountable. So this is we have to strike back. We are at a key moment in history, in time here, of where we're going to be completely stripped away from all of our rights, and communism is being ushered in an extremely alarming rate. We got to push back and do something here.
What makes it worse is they're literally telling us, just like I said on the onset of this at that meeting, they're literally telling us what they're doing. And that's part of it. They're telling us what we're doing or what they're going to do, and everybody stands there. Great, let's do it. Like, again, you got to wake up and listen to what they're saying, because even if, which they don't care, but if you were to call them out, they'd say, well, I told you. It's written right there.
Everything that is going on right now, and I've harped on this over and over, but problem is human nature. People don't care. It's much easier to hear what you tell me to do instead of going and doing my actual own research on this stuff. And that's a big problem, because we'll never get anywhere. The definition of insanity: doing the same thing over again and expecting a different result. How long have we had these same parties in over and over, when there's all these other parties out there, and nobody votes the other parties in because they're so used to this garbage of voting the same idiots in that they forget to realize we're in this situation because of those parties. How many promises are always given before election, and then when they get elected, they completely renege on those promises? Nobody ever does that. You know what? Great example for everyone. Healthcare, or sorry, not healthcare. The sex ed curriculum in Ontario, and I'm going to just speak on a provincial legislation because education is provincial, not federal. They turned around. Ford said that he was going to get rid of all of this sex ed that was in. By the way, people, that sex ed curriculum was given by UNESCO to a convicted pedophile of the Liberal Party who wrote this stuff up. So when you vote yes for these guys, you're voting yes to pedophilia, just so you understand that. And Ford said he would remove that. He got elected, did not remove anything, and left it as it is. So this is a big problem. They're all pushing the same garbage. And if we don't make a change somehow or another, they're going to make changes, and the changes are going to be worse and worse and worse. So
another part of the problem, though, is the fact that they run these ad campaigns and they divide the people right and left. You know, they put it into those two particular categories. So that's why the people are they're sitting here and they see how, you know, one particular party screws up. So they launch these ad campaigns where, oh, if you vote for, you know, any other party, you're going to split the vote, and then those guys will win anyways. You know, and that's what I saw, you know, for a successful ad campaign. I'm not saying it was right or ethical or moral even, but I noticed that during the last federal election when it came to the PPC, there was this massive ad campaign that was launched dominantly by the conservatives. And they said, well, if you don't vote for us and you vote for the PPC, this other right party, the liberals are going to end up coming back in, will be stuck with Trudeau again. And that's not really reality. The PPC, from what I was able to see, was actually a collection of both right and left people that were just disenfranchised with their party and or leader. And I think, you know, and I'm not talking about the extremists on the right. I'm not talking about the extremists on the left. I really don't think that there's that much of a division between the right and the left. And I'm saying the majority that sit kind of in the center. I think that it kind of comes into play where, you know, the bottom line is the left is really worried about economics. They've got money, and that's what they're worried about, you know, whereas we on the right, we're worried about economics. So, I mean, we have that common thread there, right? But it's your politicians, it's this political agenda that the media pushes, and they say, well, you know, you got to fit into this category, you got to fit into this category, and they push us apart as an entirety. And again, I'm not speaking to the extremists on either side. I'm just saying, you know, most of the people that are relatively sane, you know. So
Yeah. I you know, I won't pick on the PPC particularly, and I'm not going to pick on any party in particular, but I'm going to say this. Um, you know, do your research on them. And when I say on them, I don't say the party. I say the leader. Uh, and if you want to take the other argument, they say you're going to split the vote. Even if you add up all the votes that the PPC got and you throw them to the Conservative Party, you're still not going to get a win. So the problem is they use that as a form of control, a means of control. If you vote for this, you're going to split the party. You're going to split the vote. Sorry. Um, that doesn't happen. That's a full out lie, because in order to split the vote, you need to have the vote to begin with. And if you don't have the vote, which nobody does until the vote is cast, you can't split the vote. So what has been going on is there is a definite division. If you follow the media and you see what they say, they'll always say when there's something communist or fascist, they'll say it's an extreme right wing person. There is no right, there's no left. There's that's all a means of division again. And then you have the elected idiots that cause division further and start saying, well, misogynist, white supremacist, all this bullcrap pushing the narrative. Just so you understand, humans, people, the race of the human beings. And you know, I'm not singling out any color or anything. I'm just talking the human race, period. They're communist by nature. They all want everyone to be equal. That's just by nature. Um, but the reality of it all is nobody's equal. And that's where the conflict is. You can't have a very obese person who's 4 foot something playing basketball. That just won't happen. There's no equality there. We've seen in swimming, you got men now saying that they're women and going and setting world records and smoking the women, because men naturally are built different. our tendons, our muscles, our bone structures of men are different than women. They are made to be working, made to be for combat through, if you want to believe in evolution, even. You know, they were always the protectors. There's no equality there. It just cannot happen. And it's been proven that a male significantly smaller than a female in a fight would still win over the female. They're not built for fighting. They're not built for combat, if you want to say. Um, the Canadian military, when they finally allowed women in to um, uh, be in a military role, there was in the warehouses, let's say, the requirement of weight being able to be lifted had to be reduced in order to accommodate the females. Now, does that make a military more efficient, or does that make it less efficient? Is the requirement of the weight there, is it now slower to move shells, for example, for their artillery, which weigh quite a bit, or to load aircraft? You know, do they all have to use some sort of machinery now? Is the machinery going to be slower, or is it going to be as fast? Is it going to be as efficient? If you want to be in a combat role, well, it's not going to change anything by squeezing a trigger. I'd say in that role they're going to be equal. But you know, there's just so many things. Police officer. There was a little tiny blonde lady. I remember when they let women in the police force. Attempted to arrest a black male who was a huge guy, and he attacked her and punched her in the face, beat the crap out of her, collapsed, broke all her cheekbones, everything, just collapsed her whole face in. And she, in the news interview she done, she said, I can't believe he done that because I'm the law. They all have to respect the law. Well, that's a fantasy, lady. You're getting out there against a hardcore criminal. If he's facing life in prison or anything, he's not going to sit back and let you take him into into handcuffs and take him into custody. He's going to beat the living piss out of you or kill you if he can in order to escape. These are the things. So you know that kind of stuff, and government uses that as a means of division. They'll use that against the people to cause a divide in people.
Yeah, and they're doing a really good job. I do have to, I have a couple of objective questions, the points that you've touched on. I mean, the first one is, women, aren't you bothered by this? Like, this should really bother you, you know? The second question that I have is, you know, all of these born biologically males are always entering into women's competitions. If they identify as neither male nor female, how come they're not entering the males competitions? How come there's not a separate category for these individuals? You know, I mean, I'm looking at this from, you know, like, you had the women's liberation movement that happened, and you know, you fought for your rights and all this kind of stuff, and now I'm seeing it where biological males are, in my opinion, infiltrating your sports, infiltrating your rights. You should be bothered by this. And again, that's just me throwing it out there. I don't know. Maybe I'm just making it up. Maybe, you know.
No, that's a good question. We see all these males entering females, but as far as I'm aware, I haven't seen any females enter into the males. And on top of it, look at the MMA fighting. That male who went into the female competition, what did he break? I think it was 2 or 3 female participants. He fractured their skulls. The power a male can generate in a punch is going to be significantly more than a female. And don't get me wrong, I'm not being condescending to the females. I've seen some pretty vicious kicks from female kickboxers. Trust me, I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end, but we don't see that. We don't see the opposite. We always see males going into females. We don't see females going into males. So why is that? And they're all making they're all setting world records and stuff. Naturally, what rank was that swimmer guy? I think he was in like 100 and something, and all of a sudden he's ranked number one in female. It's absurd. The whole world has been flip flopped upside down. Everything's gone nuts. What's fantasy is now reality. What's reality is nothing. Just crazy.
Well, don't dismiss the females that quick. There's some females that really can kick a ball. Starting kicker.
I know that, Ed. That's why I said I've seen some female kickboxers. I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end, but you know, if you look up the stuff in the MMA, you'll see they've smashed their skulls, man. It just vicious stuff.
I have not heard of the new cage movement. I hope that's a joke. Yeah, this would be interesting. Why don't they put on that, make that one of the prerequisites? You gotta, if you're identifying as a female, well, deliver at least one baby, and then okay, we'll let you compete in the women's sports. It's just an idea.
So what's your take on all of this, Ed?
Come on. I wore a thong when I was younger. When was the last time you seen a phone booth? If you lose at male sports but want to cheat to win, just say you're a girl, then you can win against the ladies. Yeah, basically, that's what's happening, right? It's pretty much it right there.
Yep.
Yeah, 250 pounds.
I'm going to throw a link up here for you. This is quite incredible. I threw a link up in private. If you want to throw that up there, that's just crazy, man.
All right, it's coming right now. Guys, we got to end in about 3 minutes.
And the headline is even a great question. How long will this insanity continue? There you go.
Let me make this bigger.
I think that was last year, was it not?
I believe it was it 2014? It might have been last year. Yeah, no, you're right, last year. But there was another one in 2014 where he cracked her skull open.
Boy, that's something to be real proud of, huh?
Well, I guess there's no more using that line, you don't beat women. Obviously, you got, well, here, it says it in 2014 right there. Fallon Fox cracked Tamika Brent's skull. So there you go. It's not a first time thing. It's a common thing. Women are, this is something that can kill you literally.
It's described by some as horrific due to the way Seacats was battered by her male opponent. IMMAF categorically disagrees with this intentionally scandalous form of entertainment which does not represent the sport of MMA or its values and put women at risk, a spokesperson stated. It is unacceptable that women and women should compete against each other in combat sports, essentially for reasons of safety, but also fair play. And we in no way endorse this.
So what's that tell you, Ed, is it fair play? You know, you got a big guy with a honking muscles gonna throw a freaking stupid skirt on and maybe wear a bra, or who knows what, and just go in and beat the piss out of a woman. You know
From what
that.
I understand, they don't even remove their extra baggage.
Well, and that's true too. But you know, man, that's beyond me. Just give a good old fashioned beat down on a woman. There's no way that compete can happen. And is Tam a man? Hell, I keep seeing that Adam's apple. I don't see any in females. So,
You know what I find
Saying
interesting
that for
about?
years.
I can't find Tam's history from before he was 30 years old. It's like he has none.
there was,
Or
was an article out on Tam the Man when all this COVID crap first came out, and they did say they are a transgender. So I believe Tam is a man.
Yeah, look at Adam's apple. Anyways, guys, thanks for coming on tonight. Tune in
Thank you for
tomorrow.
having me.
I'm working on bringing in a professor / medical doctor. Hopefully, he gets back to me shortly. Spoke to him last week, and got a bunch of great shows lined up for this week. Any final comments, guys? Quick ones.
No, just thanks for having me on. Nice seeing you again, Joey. Good
Yep.
stuff. Hello,
You
and
as,
bye,
you, as,
everybody.
you as well. Keep the fight up there, Stefanos. Obviously, me and you will continue talking about all this. My final comment, just what I said throughout the show, I kept saying it, you know, make sure that you're fully aware of what you're committing to, be it a movement, whatever these guys are calling themselves, a movement, a party, a group, a meeting, whatever. And don't take them at face value. Listen to the words they say, read everything. And I mean, if it's really for you, then fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But just make sure that you're doing your full research before you fully commit, because maybe, just as I said, there's something else going on in the background. Anyways, again, thank you so much for having me. I'm glad and happy to come on anytime, guys.
Thanks for coming on, Stefanos. I'm sure we'll see you again this week. Thanks for the Christmas present. Much appreciated. And guys, I'm sure if we have this legislation in Ontario, I'd be surprised if it's not in other provinces also. It's just hidden. There's just so many pieces. And I guess where should people in other provinces look, Stefanos?
God, look at your elections, Calgary or elections Alberta.
Must have been good. Anyways, I'm going to play them out. See you guys tomorrow. Share this out.
I get home from work. Actually, no, I collect syrup. I'm quickly stressing out. Stuck inside, told there's nothing to worry about. These walls are closing in. Just 2 more weeks, 2 more weeks. All my friends have lost connection. Without Wi-Fi, would I even have my life? Just 2 more weeks, 2 more weeks. Just 2 more weeks, 2 more weeks. I need to cut my hair. Actually, no, I need some fresh air. I quickly cover my mouth. I'll be fine. Politicians put words in my mouth. When's this lockdown gonna end? Just 2 more weeks, 2 more weeks. It's all about health and safety. That's why everybody is going crazy. Just 2 more weeks, 2 more weeks. taxes, and we don't question. 2 more weeks, 2 more weeks. Is our time running out? I can't even see Grandma now. Wave at you through the screen and say, just 2 more weeks, 2 more weeks.